Monster Hunter Wild is really easy, which in my opinion is really good, since a good amount of it is quality of life improvements. But thankfully, given the amount of stuff this game has, it is pretty easy to increase the difficulty for yourself, which is where this playthrough comes from. I'll only be using the leather armors, without upgrading them, to see how far I can make it, and by this point, I have less defense than a single piece of current armor. So this will be interesting. So on that note, let's dive right into it. So, last we left off, we were fighting for our lives, as we were basically cleaning up after the White Raid, but since it kinda just left, we are a bit at a loss here. So for now, we continue to the next area. We basically take this underground tunnel into the game's icy area, where we find something completely unexpected. No, not that. Him. I'm not really talking about the story since this is a challenge run, but I was legit so confused when this happened. But anyways, we hear the magic words, and we get to work. The main thing for this monster is that it can attack surprisingly fast, especially with its web swinging. However, it has some pretty slow attacks you can use as a good way to get away. One thing that I did find out is that the easiest place to fight this thing is in its nest, because it will end up getting stuck in the weapon if you hit it hard enough. Aside from that, I really don't have much else to say, it's pretty easy. But yeah, we saved the little guy. He shows us to his little hideout, where we're able to set up camp, though not without being chased in by some monsters, so we have to clear them out so everyone else can leave. Which one am I hunting? Oh, all of them. Anyways, we take a page out of this game's very own book. Now, these monsters don't pose that much of a problem to me. They're mostly in the air, but they probably made them easy to knock down in the air to compensate. The hard part was to keep track of which one I was hunting, and once they were tired, it was hard to get them to land so that I could capture them. So much so I, might have killed one of them. But it is what it is. From there, we go back to the basin, where they're finally able to have their festival. And if I learned anything from playing D&D, so yeah, the whole thing goes haywire. And on top of that, we have a bunch of monsters at the gate of the city, so obviously we have to go after them. Plural. Oh no. Thankfully, the game gives us an NPC to help us, though in all honesty, it doesn't really help me that much. I get demolished. It's pretty hard to keep track of multiple monsters at the same time, especially with these monsters who have such wide attacks. Or maybe I just have weakness against monkeys, that could be it. But once Olivia splits off, it becomes a lot more manageable. Now, aside from being really strong, this monster also gives you blast blight, which means that you'll eventually explode if you don't roll enough times on the floor. Something I thankfully discovered like this. But overall, I'm able to keep it wounded and stunned most of the time, which lets me deal enough damage that I'm able to have it retreat. From here, Olivia will join us, having hunted her monkey, but pretty much all that's left is just to capture it. I'd rate this one 5 out of 10 Rajangs. Would fight again. If you wanna know what I'm talking about, feel free to check out this video I'm linking above, where I get the proper Frieza POV. There'll also be linked down in the description with a playlist if you'd like to see all of it. And while you're down there, feel free to drop a like if you're enjoying the video, or subscribe if you enjoy this type of content. The support you guys have shown this series already is insane to me. I really appreciate it. It really means the world to me. Our little community keeps growing day by day, so let's keep growing it, okay? Thanks! Now, with the festival saved, everything's back to normal. Anyways, the monkeys decide to attack the village itself, so we go to fight the... Never mind. Whatever dragged them down isn't really better? So that will be our next target. So, we head down into the depths where the thing lives. And once we arrive there, we get a good look of it. And I gotta say that it looks unlike anything I have seen before in Monster Hunter, which is really important, because a lot of monsters that shame the same type of skeleton per se, have a lot of moves that are really similar. At first I was struggling to keep up with its movements, and I had to have my secret save me a few times. The hard thing about this monster is that you don't really know where it's gonna attack you from, but there's an easy solution to that. Before attacking, it will begin moving the tentacle it's going to attack with, making it a lot easier to dodge. It also has this fire breath attack that does a lot of damage, but given that I'm used to dodging Fatalis one, yeah, it really is a non-factor. I actually learned this from playing 13. For cone-shaped attacks, it is a lot easier to dodge them by walking towards them and slightly to the side. Hope that helps. But anyways, we're able to force it back to its nest, where we're able to capture it without too much trouble. From there, we learn that we can continue into a new area, getting closer to the place where Nata's from. However, as we explore, we get ambushed by a Ajarakan? No, like literally, that's what it says. I will say though that this version is something else. It is so aggressive and deals so much damage. I get lucky in one of my escapes with the foot skill reducing how much damage I take, but the second time I was not that lucky. These things hit like a truck, so I'll need to be a lot more careful. Thankfully though, since we fought at Ajarakan before, a lot of it is very familiar. This fight also takes us around the area, so I'm able to learn a few things here and there, but for the most part, we don't have any other trouble. From there, we keep going upwards until until we were able to reach the village that we were going for. Again, I'm not really talking about the story here, but I did really enjoy this scene. I think it's really sweet. However, this reunion gets cut short. I was beginning to wonder where he was. So, our next task is to hunt the Rathalos. Or Rathalos, to be more accurate. Now, I've fought so many of these because I really like Rathalos, to be honest, so I didn't have that much trouble. But it is here where I learned something really important. Let me explain. I am very aware that Rathalos tend to be weak to dragon, and seeing the fact that there's dragon pods on the ground, I very quickly grabbed one up so I can get in some free damage. However, I instead end up hitting the weird crystals that it makes. At first I didn't think anything of it, but then, some others he made exploded when they made contact with his breath, and that's when it clicked. Both explosions were different colors. His was more straight up fire, while mine had the shade of dragon element, like Devil Joe's, or the Stygians and Ogre. Later into the fight when we circled back around, I tested my theory and it was very much true. But for now, the Rathalos is finished, and we're able to save the village. From there, they explain to us that these are artificial beings, taking us to their nursery, where we end up getting ambushed by the White Wraith. Now our mission is to repel it. This is really good since it lets you know how the monster fights, before you actually need to fight it. He hits pretty hard, but thankfully, the single hour I had in the beta to fight it helped me a lot to remember its patterns. However, it also made me feel like some of its attacks were missing, but I'm sure they'll come in for the full fight. But yeah, we repel it without too much trouble. Once that's done, we begin heading upwards to look for the Wyverians, since they might have more information on the creature. So we head back to the ice area. From there, the Woodwood we met lets us know where to go, though he ends up warning us about a monster that's in the way, but we head in anyways. And we had too much surprise, we end up pissing it off, and it is way bigger than I expected. It ends up cutting us off, so we need to repel it. To help us, the game gives us a Libby again. So, how does it go? The problem with massive monsters is based on their attacks. Now, larger monsters like this do tend to deal a lot of damage, and have attacks that go way further than other monsters. However, that's not what was throwing me off. What did is that big monsters have slower attacks, so the usual style I have of dodging and parrying, yeah, it's not really gonna work, at least until I learn the timings better. However, in comparison to the other large monsters I fought so far, this one is a lot easier to knock down, and once it's down, focus striking it is extremely effective, letting you pile up a lot of damage.
Guess you danced with giant monsters before, huh?
Yep. From here, it retreats into a final area, where we can use a lot of these ice chunks to deal a bunch of extra damage to it. Sometimes it will climb up and try to take shots at us from above, but eventually the pillar becomes weak and we can bring it down with it. And to wrap it up, he'll use this large supernova attack, which I'm pretty sure it's an insta-cart, but it's pretty easy here to just drop one of the icicles and hide behind it. From there, it doesn't take too long to take it out, and forcing it to retreat. So, having dealt with that, we're able to make it to the peaks. There, we've had Pookie, learned a lot about the lore, and get sent right back down. Essentially, we need to head down to the bottom of the area where we're in before. However, as we head down, we come across a few familiar tracks, and a very heavy sense of deja vu. Now, full disclaimer, I knew there was an Odogaron in the game, but I was not expecting it so early, or for it to be the Ebony subspecies. However, I did find him a lot of Iceborne, and since this is low rank, he doesn't have close to as many moves, so we kinda just deal with it and keep going downward. Fuck. Thankfully, we're able to break free, but we'll need to hunt the thing to get out. There are two things I noticed about this monster. First, this monster uses its tentacles more like swords, so it swings them around a lot before he actually attacks, making it harder to dodge. And also, he will dash at you extremely fast. He also was dealing a lot of damage to me, so I ended up using the circuit to circle around it until I had an opening. Aside from that, it really wasn't that hard. I end up chasing it around for a fair bit before I'm actually able to take it out. I'll say that I really do enjoy fighting these type of monsters. They're really fun. But yeah, we continue heading down, where we finally find the Arkveld. Now, this monster is extremely aggressive, which made me struggle a fair bit. I don't know why, but I struggle keeping pace with monsters like this. And given that it can use its chains to have such long attacks, I understood I needed to be careful. However, I'm able to apply the trick I learned earlier with the Rathalos, since it creates the white crystals each time it attacks. This helped me deal a lot of extra damage from a distance, as well as even knocking it down to get some hits in. However, the dragon ammo isn't infinite, so the grand majority of it is me having to try and fight it without dying. I had to be clever when fighting it, making sure to not overstay my welcome. Who am I kidding? I obviously did. So I had to be ready to make sure that I could dodge with a secret once I got hit. And since I don't know the monster that well, I get very harshly punished a good amount of the time. Especially this one where I just get... Looking back at this as I'm editing, I literally could have just dodged the side and I would have been fine. It's really sad. But once I'm come back, I focus in a lot of being more aggressive. I try to stick a lot more closer to it. even dealing enough damage to push it back to the ground, until I get to this point when I get pushed against the wall. I pretty much have nowhere to escape. However, I'm way more familiar with his patterns now, so I was able to use my Morph Strike to keep blocking it, to try to make my way out of the corner, until... Huh? I'll be honest, I don't really know what happened. We were able to fully take it out. However, if you know Monster Hunter, you know that the monster in the box art never is the last one. Well, I guess Nergigante ended up being the last one, but that's more of a technicality. Anyways, there is one last monster in low rank. We head a bit further. Have a moment that I genuinely was not expecting Monster Hunter to pull off.
By my own order. I will slay Zoh Shia.
And we begin our last fight. This tests everything we've learned so far. Its body will regenerate after some time, so you gotta keep up the aggression. Its attacks are massive, in both damage and in reach, but are still fairly slow, so you can dodge them once you have learned the pattern well enough. It will also create a ton of crystals that you can explode with slinger ammo, which helps you deal a lot of extra damage. However, the slinger ammo isn't infinite, and it also can detonate them, so you gotta be careful. And if you're doing well enough, you'll be in its second phase. Here it will use a lot more breath attacks, and it will be a lot more aggressive, aka there will be less space in between its attacks. It also moves a ton more in this section of the fight, and when it's far away it will pelt at you with fire blasts. So using the circuit to close the distance is really essential here.
It's doing something to the area. Not good.
I never thought I'd get this far.
The arena now also has a lot of extra traps, which lets you do a lot of extra damage if it's standing under them. Sometimes it will use the attack when you transition between phases, but if you stand behind them, you actually are completely safe. But aside from that, it is a pretty honest fight. All you have to do is do it. And with that, we have finally beat all of Monster Hunter Wild's low rank, without ever upgrading our armor. I gotta say, this was really fun. Is this the toughest challenge you can do? Not even close. The amount of stuff that you all have said in the comments of the last video about the challenges you guys went on, they all sound insane. You're all way more cracked at the game than I ever thought people could be. Props to y'all. But for me, this was a very nice level of difficulty. It definitely let me learn the mechanics a lot better, and it made for some really clutch moments. And I'm really excited to see what high rank has to offer. As for how I'll handle high rank, well, you'll need to find out next time. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like seriously, I had no idea how much support you guys would show the last video. Seriously, you have no idea how much it all meant to me. So yeah, thank you. It really means the world to me. And I keep doing my best to make as best content as I can. But for now, that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye, see ya!